Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023. We're your hosts, and we started this podcast because 2023 was a weird and wacky year for movies.
Whoa.
Like, for example,
Uh-huh.
yeah, if we needed one.
Yeah.
80 for Brady came out. Strays.
Mm-hmm.
65.
Uh-huh.
Cocaine Bear, whatever.
Etc.
So if you like this podcast, I don't know.
This is all off the dome.
Maybe consider supporting us on Patreon. It's only $5. Reviewing and rating on wherever you might listen to your podcast. Following us on Instagram and subscribing to our YouTube channel. It will help us out.
All of those are good.
I have a question.
I have an answer, probably.
What movie are we talking about today?
We're talking about If You Were the Last.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Okay.
What's that about?
If you don't know, because everyone's been talking about this movie, adrift in their broken-down space shuttle with little hope of rescue, two astronauts argue over whether they're better off spending their remaining days as friends or something more.
You're saying it's a sci-fi movie?
I'm saying it's a sci-fi rom-com.
Ooh, baby, sign me up.
Those are two shortened words, shortened word phrases that are good together. Genres, as some people call them.
No, I think word phrases is better.
What were your first impressions when you heard about this motion picture?
I don't think I even watched the trailer. I think I just saw it on Peacock, and it was like 2023. And then I saw that it was Anthony Mackie and Zoe. Zoe Chao.
No, that's how you pronounce her name. It's just Zoe and then an awkward pause.
Oh, actually, the Chao is silent. And I was like, yeah, that looks good, because I like both of those actors.
Yeah, that was just really good timing.
What was your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
I heard about Zoe? I don't think I did.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't hear about this movie until we were trying to figure out what to watch, and you said I found this movie that it looks like it'd be a pretty easy ride.
It's 90 minutes, and it's
90
late
minutes
at night.
and we're tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had no expectations going in. I definitely didn't watch the trailer. Kind of glad I didn't.
I
Although
would imagine it gives away.
yeah, so we'll just talk about the trailer. It's got some like upbeat pop music that doesn't quite match the rest of the vibe of the soundtrack, which I enjoy the soundtrack.
Yep.
And then it's basically just the opening scene of the movie, which is setting up the fact that they are astronauts in space.
Yeah.
They're stuck. And then it's also setting up the will they, won't they question, with showing images of their chemistry.
Yep.
And then, yeah, there's a lot of imagery drawing attention to the art design and then, like, images of space. And then, like, various review quotes. And one of them is that they're the cutest rom-com couple of the year, which I feel like is a little bit of a giveaway. But it's in the trailer.
Yeah. The art design was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that I didn't watch the trailer, because seeing the art design just, like, for the first time in the movie.
It's a good reveal if
Yeah.
you don't know what to look for.
Yep.
Yeah. Should we talk about the cast?
We should.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Mackie as Adam Garrity. Zoe as Jane.
Zoe Chao as Jane.
Natalie Morales as Savannah Garrity. Jeff Stoltz as Tom Wright. Missy Pyle as Megan Benson. Kalika as Madam President. Langston Fishburne as Nasha Administrator.
He is
Lawrence Fishburne's
son.
Yeah.
He is an extra, and I was looking at the IMDb page, and I was like, those facial features look real familiar. He looks exactly like Lawrence. And I was like, I really don't remember him being in the movie, but he's basically just got one or two lines where he's like, hey, we're just handling your paperwork. Also, there are a bunch of reporters.
Oh, yeah.
That's
him. Okay.
Young Fishburne.
Oh, he played young Lawrence Fishburne in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Which makes sense.
Or at least a body double. They probably still grafted the face over.
Yeah, but they really didn't have to do too much.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's a small cast, which makes sense as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
So we will go through the plot breakdown. This is off of memory because I tried my darndest to find any information about this movie.
Just really nothing.
The Wikipedia page, which is normally where I start from, and then I look at like various links and sources and that kind of stuff. And then it's nice to like have a thing to fall back on when summarizing. The Wikipedia page for this movie is just like, it happened.
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie was there.
Mm-hmm.
End of article. So, anyway, also, if you haven't seen this movie, we would recommend watching it, and not getting spoilers for this episode, because
It's real good.
spoilers for our rating. It's real good. So, two friends, Jane and Adam, play chess and debate if it makes sense to devote all of those resources to rescuing Matt Damon in The Martian. Jane says it doesn't make sense to spend all that money on one guy, and Adam says it united the world. They pause. Jane asks Adam if he really thinks no one is coming to rescue them. It's revealed that they're on a spaceship together. That's when you get the reveal of like the art design, because otherwise it just looks like they're in a living room, and then it shows the windows and that space, and it's right there. Jane and Adam are adrift in space, but self-sustaining with a goat and chickens, and are not in any immediate danger. Adam paints and works to cross-pollinate blueberries with marijuana plants, and Jane listens to her music all day and tries to fix their comms and navigation systems to get them home. It's clear she's been trying for a while, and they've been gone for 3 years. The two have a routine with movie nights, workouts, and dance parties together. One night, Adam asks Jane if they should consider banging. That's how he phrases it. Yeah. No emotions involved, just as a stress release. Jane has 3 reasons not to. They're not attracted to each other, which Adam says helps his argument, because then no feelings. They're both married to people back on Earth, and there's no birth control in space. They debate the reasons over the next few weeks. Also, the reveal that they're both married, I think, is like, it kind of hits you in the movie. It's revealed in the trailer.
Oh, okay.
Don't watch the trailer. Don't listen to the rest of this if you haven't watched the movie. So, their routine continues as normal as they continue to get closer together. They talk to the skeleton of their third crewmate, Benson, who, quote, went crazy at some point early on in the mission about if it's right to move to change their dynamic, about if it's the right move to change their relationship dynamic. Jane says it's cheesy, but Adam is her whole world in space and doesn't want to ruin what they have. At some point, Jane's music files get corrupted and she loses all of her favorite songs. Adam helps by sharing his music and singing her favorite song, All Night Long by Lionel Richie, to her. Adam also finally runs out of his favorite snack, Pop-Tarts, and Jane makes him homemade ones. Jane gets a cut on her leg and has to use the last of their antibiotic supply. She feels guilty, but Adam reassures her they'll be all right. While talking together one night, Jane and Adam agree that they want to do everything but, and they'll see how things go the next night. The next day, they're both prepping for their date night and going through their routine. Jane goes through the motions of testing their systems and find out she's fixed the navigation. They don't have comms, but they don't need that to get home. They have a course back to Earth that will take a few weeks. They set the course and then start making out. There's a montage of them going home and doing everything. They're romantic now. Or physical, whatever.
Montage of them on their way home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like them in various rooms and then also a countdown of 14 days left. So with only a few days left on their trip, they talk about what they're looking forward to most. Jane mentions things like camping and going down a river, and Adam says he's looking forward to hugging his wife, Savannah. He asks if that's okay to say. Jane says of course, but there is a bit of tension. Adam asks if they'll still be best friends because she's his whole world, and Jane says his world is about to get a lot bigger. They make it back to Earth, and things get chaotic with reporters, press conferences, and NASA admin. At their first press conference, Savannah shows up and kisses Adam. He also learns she's governor now. Savannah pulls Adam out of the conference. He leaves with his wife and looks back at Jane. Jane later reunites with her husband Tom while she's getting checked out by doctors. She immediately asks him if he's castawayed her, saying she'd understand. Tom says he went on a few dates, but no one compared to her. She's relieved and kisses him. There's another montage of Jane and Adam going through the debrief process with NASA, both saying they're fine and just glad to be home. Jane waits with Tom for her discharge paperwork. Before they leave, Adam and Savannah show up. Their spouses step away, and Adam and Jane talk. Adam asking if she'll still be a part of his life. She says they have interviews together, but no. She wants to go back to how her life was before. Adam is upset and says goodbye. This is the scene with young Fishburne. They get back into their routines. Jane with Tom and Adam doing press and getting into the life of a governor with Savannah. They're both going through the motions of everyday life. Adam occasionally texting Jane but without a response. Jane wants to go to Iceland to see the northern lights, and Tom is surprised she wants to take another trip so soon, but agrees. Adam goes to lots of parties and events with Savannah, but not having the best time. Jane goes on a jog, and All Night Long comes on. She has to stop running and cries on the side of the road for a bit. Later at home, she asks Tom if he wants to take a dance class with her. He laughs and says no. Tom also gets a text from a woman he went out a few dates with, and Jane overreacts, telling Tom he has to tell this woman what's going on, and saying maybe they should talk to her together. Tom asks her what's going on, and she comes clean about her relationship with Adam. Adam and Savannah are riding to another event together, Adam complaining that the schedule has been nonstop since he got back. He says they haven't had time to even talk much. Savannah asks what he wants to talk about. He snaps about the time Benson attacked him and Jane had to kill her to save his life. Savannah says she knows what he really wants to talk about, but she doesn't want to. She just wants to know that it's over between them. He says yes. Savannah says she'll see what upcoming events she can cancel, but there's one they definitely have to go to. Cut to Adam and Savannah entering the White House at an event celebrating his and Jane's return. They walk into a large room, and Adam clearly reacts when he sees Jane standing by herself. They say hi and talk a bit, Savannah asking where Tom is, and Jane says the story tonight is that he has the flu, but they are separating. There's nothing wrong with him, they just aren't right for each other. Adam and Jane sit at separate tables and don't interact much until Madam President walks over to them. She says she hears they're great dancers and asks them to dance for everyone. They perform a waltz, and there are memory flashbacks of their time together in space. The dance ends, everyone applauds, and they separate again. Savannah and Adam get ready to leave. Adam stops before the door. He tells Savannah he loves her and he's sorry. She says, "Tell Jane I hate her." They hug and she leaves. Adam goes back to the party room where Jane sits alone. He tells her Savannah hates her. She asks why, and they kiss. A photographer takes their picture and walks away. Jane asks if Adam wants to go on a trip. He says yes immediately. Cut to Jane and Adam in a tent, debating what movies they should watch together. We see they're under the northern lights, and the movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
So, stuff that stuck out.
Uh-huh.
Number 1 on my list. We liked it.
Yeah, it was a great film.
It was really good. I would say going into it with no expectations or no concept of what it was even about was helpful.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
Helps the viewing experience.
Yeah, because like even if you like, oh, I heard this was good, and then you watch it, I think you would still think it's good. But going in with like no idea, and then watching it and like watching what you think is just going to be like the pretty standard straight to streaming movie where it's like, let's see a cheesy modern rom-com, and then you watch it and you're like, oh, this is good actually. Like we mentioned earlier, the art direction and the set design is really good. The spaceship style is fun. It looks basically everything it's just like a house. Like,
yeah, it really doesn't look like a spaceship.
It's very colorful. There's like they have a kitchen and all the cabinets are blue, and I think like the countertops are red.
Yeah.
It's like kind of, I guess, mid-century modern in some places.
Yeah, their bathroom has like that fancy green rectangle tile that you see in like the nice looking bathrooms now.
Yeah. The living room, it's got like a long low couch and
there's a projector, TV.
The tech that they have for everything is like pretty throwback for being in space, and it is like 2024 or like modern day.
Yeah.
And because like when they get to Earth, they have their regular smartphones and stuff, but the tech that they have on the spaceship is like things aren't working. There's a big frowny face on it, or like they're in the med bay and there's like rows of hearts like you have in a video game.
Yeah.
And when Jane gets her cut, then she's like down one of her hearts.
There's like a Walkman, basically.
Yeah, she has a
Music.
Walkman with her music, and then like
Everything's on cassettes, like
yeah,
movies, music.
or cartridges at least, and
Yeah,
they
cartridges.
there's a part where so when Jane realizes that she's lost all of her music and it's broken, she takes out the cartridge and she blows into it and then puts it back in to try and see if that would work. So
Yeah.
there's that kind of those touches. Yeah, it's all fun. And then like the stuff in space, it's a paper mache stop motion effect of like the spaceship going around Jupiter, I think, or Saturn, or
There are rings.
yeah. So I think Saturn. They're just I don't fully remember what like the mission goal was. I just remember at one point on the calendar that they're like, we're near Jupiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's a pretty detailed look and like comfortable. The extra effects that they added in were also nice touches. So like
They're eating dinner,
yeah.
and she's pretending to use she's using the fork as a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the sound effect, they made it sound like she was actually talking into a microphone, like we were hearing it through speakers.
Yeah. Like she was in an auditorium and there's a little bit of feedback.
Yeah. A lot of it was just like, and like this sort of, I think, helps my thought. It was just like, what we're seeing isn't actually what the spaceship is. It is like their imagination of trying to make it more of a home because they thought that they would be there for the rest of their lives. But when they come back to Earth, all of like the outside of the spaceship, like its outside layer comes off, and it's not yellowish anymore. It turns into just like the white and black spaceship, and then the inside, like some of the walls start crumbling apart, and we see more of like an actual like spaceship interior.
I wasn't sure how much of that was like the illusion is shattered because like it's all very comfortable. Yeah, I wasn't sure how much of that is like the it wasn't reality, and if it was just like an actual heat shield or something that was designed for re-entry is actually peeling away from the ship.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like either version, if it's real or if it's just like, through their eyes, this is a home because they're together and making it work.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like, if it is not real, then there's stuff that I would overthink in my head of like, well, they move the couch to make room so that they have space to dance and like that kind of stuff. And I don't know, like if that's not what's actually happening, then like, I assume they're in a 0G environment. How do you have dance parties?
Well, they did have the gravity button.
They did.
So.
Yeah. Gravity turns off for a bit at one point. Yeah, and then like the graphics, they don't really come up that often, but they come up with like, these are the reasons why we shouldn't sleep together, and the bit that they were there I thought was good and added to everything else. Also, like we said earlier, the soundtrack is great. It's mostly covers of songs, which covers are cheaper than the original to like get the licensing for. So I think that may have been a consideration, but all of the covers that they had like still felt within the same vibe. So like maybe they had lyrics with the right tone, but like the genre didn't fit. Then they found a cover that was able to make both of the things come together, and it's very cohesive. But like the All Night Long is the original version.
All night long.
All night. Choreography is good.
Yep.
They dance a couple of times.
And It's as if they are professional dancers. These astronauts.
Yeah. And then my main thing was this movie does a really good job of show don't tell. There's a lot of different things. So like as their relationship progresses, there are different types of dances that they do together, and like how they move together changes. Jane's shirts are a good example of like her trying to show her personality, even though she's wearing these NASA uniforms. Then like everything when they're in the space shuttle together, like Jane and Adam are like wearing the exact same thing, except so it's just like gray t-shirt, some kind of sweatpants, and then like they have Crocs at one point. Like it's very comfortable, practical clothing. And Jane, her shirts, like she went back with a permanent marker and she like made Dolly Parton t-shirt, or like I forget who else she has, maybe Madonna or something, but like she puts like her favorite artists on her shirts, so like you learn more about her just from that simple detail. The like seeing Jane or like hearing Jane say out loud that like everything's fine, I want to be with Tom, like once they're back on Earth, and then seeing her break down while listening to Lionel Richie, thought like that scene was really good. And then like the nice things that they do for each other is like even while it's all in the middle of that debate of like the will they won't they part of their relationship, then it's still establishing like, yeah, these people clearly care about each other, and like there is a very specific bond here.
Yeah, the moment when she makes the homemade Pop-Tarts for him, that was when I was like,
they're gonna kiss. Because he goes in and he hugs her because he like
just like he just shows like just true appreciation.
Yeah,
it's such a heartwarming moment.
Also, when so like when Jane realizes her music is gone, and then Adam is like talking her through everything, and he's like, well, we can share music, like you like like their music tastes are also completely different. This is a good example of like when they say opposites attract, then it's like your interests are different but your values are the same. Like so he likes
country music.
Yeah, like Willie Nelson or something. He's like, you love Willie Nelson, right? And she's like, it just breaks down. But then he's like, who's your favorite artist? What's your favorite song? And she tells him, and he's like, oh, I have that. And he goes like he's gonna play it, and he puts the headphones on her head, and then he starts singing all night long. And it's very sweet. And then later on, because she can only listen to his music, then she's doing her same routine, and she's doing it to country music, and she's like dancing along a little bit. There are 2 points where Adam says time is weird, and it's on the ship and then when they're back on Earth. So we see the montage of them like debating stuff, and then Adam says, we talked about this yesterday, because it's a continuation of the conversation, and she goes, that was 2 weeks ago. He's like, man, time is weird up here. And like when that happens, you're like, yeah, of course it is, because you've been in space for 3 years. Like you're not going to keep track of every single day. And then when they're back on Earth and you see it is like the pacing is completely different, where you see like almost every single day that they go through, and it's a montage, but you see like a lot of stuff. And then they meet up again at the White House, and he's like, how long has it been since we've seen each other?
He was like, it's been a long time.
Yeah. And she's like, it's been 9 days. He's like, man, time is weird here too. And it's just like, when they're together, time flies. When they're apart, time drags. And a good thing. And then the disconnect with their spouses and what they're going through, specifically with what happened to Benson, I think is a good way of showing like they have a bond, and they can only, there's only one person who understands what you went through. Because like Jane, like they tell NASA what happened, but or like the truth of it, and you see a flashback of like Benson, if there's alarms blaring, Benson is gonna kill Adam, and then Jane saves him. And they tell their spouses, or like I think Savannah learns the truth in the car, but like Tom definitely doesn't know the truth. And he's like, man, I can't believe she died. Like, who found her? How did it happen? And she's like, oh no, Adam found her.
Yeah.
And does not tell him anything else. So there were many good things that I liked about this movie. Those are the things that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else you wanna include.
Pretty much covers it. The only the one thing that I was kind of like, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
in this fantasy movie is like Adam's wife is a governor now,
Yeah.
and it still seemed like she was more well known than he was.
He even says that
Yeah.
when he walks into her office and she's on the phone call like securing a vote for a bill, and then he sees the posters with like a vote for Savannah is a good vote or whatever her slogan is, and then he's like, man, I like get lost in space and return to Earth, and I'm
Still a schlub.
I'm still the schlub in this relationship. And she's just like, yep.
Which an astronaut who's gone for 3 years and found his way back would just be way bigger than a state governor.
Yeah.
Like
the state governor angle helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing Jane just like jog by herself down the street, I was like, no.
Yeah.
You would have reporters everywhere.
Yeah.
Also, while watching this movie, time is weird. Wasn't paying attention to the like actual length of the movie while we were watching it. It was just going off of beats, and I think we both thought that it was way longer in the movie, like not in a bad way, but we thought when they are going back to Earth, we both thought the movie was almost over.
Yeah, it felt like pretty wrapped up.
And like it was going to leave it up in the air on whether or not they got together, and like maybe we would see them at the press conference and that was it. And then it just kept going. It was like, oh, this is like 2 movies. Like they are completely different tones.
Different aspect ratios.
Yeah.
When they're like in space and then back on Earth.
Yeah, the color palettes of everything are very different. The technology is very different, like we mentioned. So if it had ended where I like felt like it was going to end, then I was going to be a little bit disappointed with like the final tone, because it's them like in the cockpit together, and Adam saying like, I still want you in my life, and her saying, your world is about to get a lot bigger, and then she walks away, and then it starts the whole montage of like the landing is happening and they're coming home. I was like, well, if that's the last time that we like see them interact, then that's not gonna be fun. And that would ruin the nice vibe that it's set up for the rest of this movie. And then that didn't happen, and now it's great. Anything else before production facts?
I think production facts.
All right. Like I said, it was hard to find stuff about this movie, so I looked everywhere. So we're gonna go through whatever I found. So this had a premiere at the 2023 South by Southwest Film Festival, March 14th, 2023, with a streaming release on Peacock, October 20th, 2023. This is considered a Peacock original. It's an hour and 32-minute runtime. It's rated TVMA. Google also says R. I think it's got the TV rating because I guess it would technically be a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
It's got currently it has an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes with an 80% audience score. It was at 89% critic with a 91% audience score when it was like a couple days after its release, according to the director's Instagram. And then it has a 70 out of 100 on Metacritic and a B from an IndieWire review. The Rotten Tomato critic consensus says the charmingly lo-fi If You Were the Last relies on the chemistry of its starring duo to fuel its emotionally driven sci-fi story. I feel like that's pretty accurate. It is. The chemistry of the leads helps a lot. It would still be great without these 2 specific actors, but them being together is a big selling point.
Yeah.
There's a Roger Ebert write-up when it was at South by Southwest that said, maybe If You Were the Last is trying to say something with its tone about how awkward such a talk can be, but that innocent charm runs thin. It's talking about the will they bang?
Mm-hmm.
The movie also has a habit of cutting away when the two embrace each other, affirming their closeness in the middle of their debate, and then the script moves on as if nothing happened. A better film could develop on these beats and explore the messier terrain of platonic friendship, especially when horniness and attraction are staring right back at you. If You Were the Last is game for fluffy rom-com like tension, but it fears its own premise. What a missed opportunity.
Wrong.
I don't agree. That's the whole point of this, is that, like, and like, either this is for you or it isn't. The tone of the reviews that don't get it seem to consider it pretty juvenile. There was a thing that said, like, it felt like high schoolers, like, trying to navigate a relationship. And I think this is just treats a relationship in pretty practical terms.
Yeah.
Like, they aren't obsessing over this issue because they're professionals and they're in space and they have lives outside of this relationship.
Yeah.
Even though they don't have anyone else to interact with, it shows that they aren't just their relationship. So I don't agree with this. But I included it because I guess that's a perspective you can't have.
It's wrong.
And then even like the reviews that didn't get it still say, like, oh, sorry, they said that the set design was added to the juvenileness because meh.
Man, people don't understand artistic choice.
Sometimes they really don't. Positive and negative reviews agreed that the chemistry of the leads is the movie's strongest factor, and then there's a review of the movie from Variety that just starts with the word "hooray." It was less glowing after that, but I just thought that's a good start to a review.
Now, I'm guessing because you had a hard time finding any information, you were still able to find out if this movie was a success.
Found the exact deal that they signed.
Wow.
No. The budget for this movie is low. That's as far as I can tell. I don't have a number. And then
20,000 million is the top number.
Whenever I can't tell what a budget for a movie is or can't find a specific number, I also assume $20 million.
My reasoning for that is just like Anthony Mackie is big.
Yeah.
And like to afford him,
you gotta have a couple of million under your belt. Yeah.
you'd have to have 5 to 10 million.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know a specific number. I would love to know.
Yeah.
I do know more specific numbers for the box office, because it did earn money.
Okay.
It earned $28,466. I can get precise on that.
That's more than we've ever earned.
It's all from Russia.
Oh.
It's all from Russia, and that's the end of the information that I found.
All right.
It had a theatrical Russian release. There's no specific streaming number standings that I can find. It is a true under-the-radar movie. And then it was, like, shown in some ways. It was 4 out of 10 on Entertainment Weekly's 10 Best Rom-Coms on Peacock in July 2024. There was an article they came out with, and it was on New York Times list of sci-fi movies to stream.
So it was fourth.
It was 4th
10
out of 10 for recommended movies to watch for this
specific. It was
specific.
not given a 4 out of 10 review.
No, it was number 4 for the month of July 2024. And then it was the top recommended film from Peacock when it was released. Again, that is from people's Instagrams because they posted with pictures in front of their TVs with their movie on there, and that's fun. So production timeline. This is from writer Angela Barras's Instagram. So her mom, unfortunately, had health complications in July 2019 and then passed away that September. June 2019, sorry. Yeah, and then passed away that September. So in July 2019, she started outlining this story. And then in August 2019, the first draft of the film is finished. 2020, the script gets on the blacklist for best unproduced screenplays. And then October 20th, 2023, the film comes out on what would have been her mom's 66th birthday.
That's nice.
And then she says in the post, "If You Were the Last doesn't have any formal dedications, but in my heart it has always been and will always be for my mother, my hero, Carolyn Jean Guess." So everyone who worked on this movie, as far as I can tell, really cared about it. It's very personal, obviously, to Angela specifically. Yeah, that's about as much as I could find on like the creation aspect of this. It does not have any awards listed on its IMDb profile. It's normally where I go. And it also doesn't have a tagline. Which I looked everywhere I could. The movie doesn't need a tagline, but I was just surprised it didn't have one. So it was produced by Depth of Field, Pinky Promise, and Storm City Productions. So Depth of Field was founded in 1999. By Chris and Paul Weitz after their directorial debut, American Pie.
Classic Irish film, American Pie.
They also produced 2023's About My Father and About a Boy. That's not 2023, but just another movie that I like. And then Pinky Promise is a newer company. I can't find when they were founded. They've got a great website. They produced 2023's The Starling Girl, so we'll have to watch that at some point. They seem to mostly focus on dramas and then comedies with a twist. And then Storm City was founded by Dennis Maisel and Gabriel Nadig in 2020. They produced Linoleum, which is a 2023 movie we will talk about eventually. And then Nadig also previously worked with Anthony Mackie on a TV show, I believe. So I think that's how he got involved in this movie. Was just like he knew her, and then phone calls were happening. It was directed by Christian Mercado Figueroa on IMDb. He's just listed as Christian Mercado. This is his first feature. He's got a background in directing music videos and comedy specials. Basically, like, so many comedians, like Taylor Tomlinson. Pretty big names that I cannot remember off the top of my head besides Taylor Tomlinson.
Nikki Glaser one?
Maybe.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. He's done a lot. He has an upcoming project listed as a director for the musical Bitty Bitty Bom Bom. So he likes music in his stuff. And then he's also listed as a director on an in-development Cheech and Chong biopic. And then his website is very cool. I was all over the internet trying to find stuff about this. So if I found a good website, it stuck with me. It's written by Angela Barassa, like I mentioned earlier. She has one short listed before this, and then If You Were the Last and Black Bags are both listed as 2023 movies, so we'll have to watch Black Bags. She's a co-writer on that one, and then the script got on the blacklist, and it also won the 2019 Page International Screenwriting Awards, or she won 2019 Page International Screenwriting Award for her script Everything Is Right Until It's Wrong. And then her next film, Turn Me On, is also a sci-fi romance. So
she's robots.
She's got a niche, and I like it. So Christian Mercado on casting. He said the first conversation I had with Anthony was cool. He was in the middle of building something. He was buying supplies and was on the phone. You could tell there was a workman quality. There was almost a man of the woods thing going on. This character, Adam, there was something about him being a gardener. Mackie at the time literally was gardening, it seems, or building stuff for his backyard. He was doing a lot of rugged dude stuff. I said, this is interesting, the serendipity of that. It was such an earnest conversation where he was telling me in a candid sort of way the things he was seeking out in film and the stories he wanted to tell more of. I was telling him why I liked the script so much and the vision I had for the film. It was cool because he's a dude from New Orleans and I'm a dude from Spanish Harlem and Puerto Rico. There was something instantly we related on. We were just two normal dudes in this bigger place like Hollywood, but we are almost displaced because we are not quite of that. We are these two normal-ish dudes, I guess. It is also rare to find that people can be that grounded in entertainment. And then he goes on to say that Zoe Chao was one of the first people that the production reached out to, and that happened before he was on the project, and then it didn't seem like she would be able to do it, but eventually they came together, and Zoe had a great chemistry read with Anthony Mackie, and they made a movie.
Yep.
In that same interview, then Mercado says he didn't want the spaceship to be sterile and cold and be its own thing, and a projection of an emotion, so maybe it isn't based in reality because of that.
Yeah.
One not positive review description I said called it an IKEA showroom, but that to me sounds like a compliment,
Yeah.
or at least a pretty fair assessment of a vibe. Maybe you don't like IKEA showrooms, but
Maybe you're dumb, you know?
You know, they got nice cabinets. And then Christian Mercado on the choreography to Screen Rant, he said, Maya Taylor, the choreographer, I gotta give it up to her. She really took the assignment to heart, where I was telling her I wanted these dances to evoke an emotional response and I wanted them to tell a story. And I think the dance that happens, which is the more contemporary kind of abstract dance, I remember watching this in the dance studio and crying a little bit. I was like, wow, I was really emotional just watching it without filming it. I knew I had something in that. I was really trying to do storytelling through dance. It tells you about different phases of their relationship, like friendship through line dance or salsa tension. Contemporary dance is evocative of an emotion. It could be abstract, it could express love and loss. And then obviously a waltz is a very classical sort of dance, but very referential to other dances in the film. So there's kind of a cool story arc just told in the dances. So that goes back to the show don't tell thing from earlier. And then Zoe Chao would knit on set, and that's why her character knits throughout the movie. She would just sit around and knit, and there are several shots of her character doing the same thing. This is the second movie that we've covered where Natalie Morales plays the, quote, perfect partner that the protagonist doesn't end up with. The other one is Self-Reliance with Jake Johnson.
Yeah. She at least had a little bit more to do in this one.
Yeah, more screen time for one, but then like, yeah, she's got more consequences or like, she's the governor. Like, she's a bigger role than Self-Reliance for sure. And then just a current events thing. There are currently 2 American astronauts that are stuck in space.
It's supposed to be a 5-day trip?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
It was going to be for a couple weeks.
Okay, and now it's 5 months.
And now, yeah, so NASA had a press conference yesterday at the time we're recording this. So Butch Whitmore and Sunita Williams have been on the International Space Station for 2 months. They could be there until February 2025, depending on NASA risk assessments. We'll find out at some point. So they went on a test flight of the Boeing Starliner, and then they experienced a few helium leaks leaks. It says links. Leaks and thruster issues. NASA says these problems could only have been discovered during a crewed test flight. Other people are like, hey, maybe that should have come up before that. So the astronauts are fine, and they're not in any immediate danger. They made it and everything. The risk assessment is to determine if they'll return on that Starliner or wait for a SpaceX rocket that's scheduled to dock at ISS in February 2025.
Yep.
There are, of course, issues with that. So the issues, according to NASA press conference yesterday, so the Starliner thruster problems make successful deorbiting burn, which is getting the spacecraft out of the orbit. It makes that concerning. And then if they wait for the SpaceX Crew Dragon, then their Starliner or Boeing spacesuits are not compatible with a SpaceX rocket, and they would have to return unsuited.
Oh my god.
So the suit is like, it provides protection, and like you can go in space a little bit with it, but it's also like an incredibly complex piece of engineering. So to not have that makes you kind of go,
Mm-hmm.
So that's the issue. I don't know if they have enough time to prep for this, and like maybe they could send SpaceX suits
On
up.
the ship?
I don't know. I'm sure it's like very precisely fitted to them, or like your body measurements, or like it's probably made 1-to-1 for each person, but like that's got to be an option.
But you would have the measurements then.
True.
Because they already have suits.
Yeah.
So just make the new suits.
In 5 months.
And if the ship can hold them, then it clearly can hold the weight.
Yeah. So there's no cutoff date yet for when NASA needs to make the call. And because they have all of this time, and it's not like they're running out of oxygen or anything. So they have time to think through the root cause of the engineering issues.
Yeah.
So the astronauts are fine. They seem to be in good spirits. I'm not gonna I didn't look up if they were married or not because I was like, hey, these are real people. I don't. It's wild that this is happening at the same time, but I don't want to speculate about their marriage status since we're talking about this movie. But yeah, it seems like they're fine, and I don't think it was a NASA official. I think it was just another astronaut who was like, honestly, they're probably glad to have the extra time in space.
Yeah.
Because like you train for years to be in this specific environment for weeks, maybe, and then maybe if you're lucky, you can do it more than once in your lifetime.
Yeah.
So the fact that they can be there for months is like a silver lining.
We went to some NASA panels when we were at Comic-Con.
We did.
And an astronaut was at one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed a picture of his real-life car.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of those cars that have full anime
Like
wrap.
Yeah. It was like orange.
Yeah.
And then it had the anime character all on the side. Because he was saying, like, what are the qualifications to become an astronaut? And then, like,
fit.
Yeah, be fit.
Be
and,
sociable.
yeah. Play well with others. Like, that kind of stuff. And then he's like, being a pop culture fan doesn't mean, or, like, doesn't make you qualified to be an astronaut, but it doesn't prohibit you.
Yeah.
And then he showed his car. I also thought of that when I was looking at because I was just seeing like live updates from the press conference yesterday, and one of the things that they mentioned was like they're fine, they're enjoying all of their good space food, and I was thinking about when he said like you get like you go through this whole process of NASA like testing out what space foods you like, and then they make you like your curated diet so to make sure you get all of your vitamins and everything, and then you try like your favorite foods for however long you're up there, and then you get sick of it because it's just the one taste, and then there's a lot of food swapping and everything with different countries. So it's like, oh man, if they're in there until 2025, then they're gonna get sick of that.
Yep.
So yeah. Should we get to our rating?
Our rating. We rate out of 4 with 5 options. 0 out of 4 is, oh no, I'm lost in space. Don't make a movie. 1 is, it was a movie. 2 is well made or enjoyable. 3 is enjoyable and technically good. 4 is Oscar worthy. I gave it a 4 out of 4. And you?
I also gave it a 4 out of 4.
Which means it's a perfect 4.
It's a good. It's our
5th perfect score.
Did you had slight hesitation giving it a 4?
Yeah, it's a lower 4 for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it is more than a 3.5.
Yeah.
It's a low 4 just because when they are back on Earth, some of it I do think went a little long, but not enough where I'm like it ruined the movie or any aspect of the movie.
I think just the vibe that they set up and commit to the entire time that they're in the space shuttle, then like, I don't know, I kind of just missed that for the rest of their time on Earth, which is like exactly what they're feeling is like, yeah, they're glad to not be in immediate danger and surrounded by other humans and whatever, but they also miss each other in their time in space, and it makes sense that like those design elements are carried throughout the rest of the film, but just like visually really enjoy the first half of this movie. And
like I do want to watch the movie again.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, it's a 4.
It's rewatchable.
Yep.
And good.
Well, now we talk about another movie that we've watched recently that isn't from 2023. We watched Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The 4th installment in this current telling of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I think we talked about watching the other
millionth installment.
Yeah. We basically just a full weekend, which I didn't think it wasn't intentional, but we just ended up watching the trilogy that came before this one.
Yeah.
And yeah, War is very good. War for the Planet of the Apes is very good.
Rise and War.
Yeah.
Both really solid. They're Matt Reeves films.
Dawn is fine. It's just, I mean, like, they're all solid. The others are just more solid. And then we watched Kingdom.
And it was good.
It was a movie.
I thought it was good.
If we were rating it, I would probably give it 2 or 3. It would be
I'd probably give it a 3.
It would be a collaborative judging so that we could give it a 2.5 because that's what I feel like its true score is.
In terms of like movies, standalone movies, I think it's better than Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd give it a 3.
Gotcha.
Um,
I do think it's
the other ones I give 4. Like they're like the War and Rise.
Yeah, I think it is cohesive enough that like if you haven't watched the others, then you basically know what's going on in the timeline, and there's enough of a recap at the beginning that it's like, here's what you missed on Glee.
But it does get a little bit like, I don't know. I don't want to spoil this one because it's so new.
Yeah.
But it is sort of just like we're keeping it going, and they're setting up stuff where it's like, oh, some of the big stuff that happened is now not as important.
The human ape relationships are not as compelling as they are, especially in War.
Yeah.
But in any of the 3, I would say. And it's not just because of the sickness thing.
Yeah.
It's like it's where they leave the story and like the hints that they have for where it's going to go next, where it's like, why is the focus shifting in this way?
Yeah. I do like the trilogy that came before this is an interesting trilogy because each one got better.
Yeah.
That doesn't usually happen. So like I think part of it was like this one we were like, oh, like we as just as people. It's like, oh, well, it just kept getting better and better.
It's gonna get better, yeah.
It'll be great. But there wasn't Matt Reeves, so it didn't have like.
I think also, they just did too good of a job establishing Caesar as a character, and then
Caesar's not in this one.
Yeah, so it's not really a spoiler because War came out a while ago, but Caesar is dead. And then there's also a time jump, but like
he just took a nap.
Yeah, I thought before we watched the movie that it would be like, this great leader is gone. Like, what do you do after that? Like, do you try and live up to his memory? And like, that's gotta be some internal conflict there. And this movie just doesn't acknowledge that in the way that I thought it would.
Yeah. I felt the apes were too spread out in this one. I don't know.
I thought the apes were too spread out, or I feel like it's too much of a time jump. Yeah. And I wanted to see, because it's fractured so much, then I feel like if this is like, so we had 1, 2, 3 before this, and then this is the 4th movie, I want to see a 3.5, and I want to see like how it got to this point. So I don't know. I'll probably watch if they make another one, but I'm not as interested as I was with the others.
Well, I think that'll do it for today's episode. Follow us on places like we said, and leave questions and comments, and we'll respond on the VHS podcast.
Yeah.
But for now, see you next week.
Goodbye.